News First, Newsline with Faraz Shauketaly.
And welcome back to Newsline, where we are today, this morning, sharing with you some information about the goings-on at a state bank where there is claim that the funds of the bank are being mismanaged in a particular way. Now then, Mr. Rusiripala, so this whistleblower highlighting these
News First, Newsline with Faraz Shauketaly.
And a very good morning to a specially recorded version of Newsline and broadcast to you this morning. This morning I'm joined by that activist and former banker, trade unionist, and now a member of the Municipal Council, Mr. Rusiripala Tennakoon. Very good morning to you, Mr. Rusiripala.
Good morning, Faraz.
Mr. Rusiripala, we are going to share some information this morning, aren't we, with the public who want to know. Basically, before we start, I want to ask you, how important, in your estimation, is whistleblowing or a journalist's ability or to have access to a whistleblower?
I think in the recent past, we have been experiencing the importance of whistleblowing in this country than before, because we have seen so many episodes which otherwise would have gone down and under if not for the whistleblowing performance. The whistleblowers have played indeed a very, very significant, important role in unearthing, bringing out certain very huge crimes in this country.
And what energizes a person to become a whistleblower?
Well, you see, there are people who do not accept in principle, you know, they resist, and they sort of, they are very unhappy about certain things that are happening in their institutions. But the institution does not provide the line passage for the necessary correction procedures and for the information to be disseminated in the legally possible manner. Therefore, they resort to whistleblowing. What they want is they let it out so that at least the authorities and other people who are concerned and interested will follow and do justice.
So in a way, it's because they are upright citizens.
They are upright and frustrated.
And frustrated.
Yes.
And they can't bear the thought of what's going on.
Exactly.
And so they feel that if they whistleblow and leaked a bit of information here and there strategically, then they may actually find some action.
Yes, I mean, if you remember, I think you are the best person to be quote cited as an example. How many times have you quoted whistleblowers in the central bank bond scam?
That's true.
Why, after it was exposed, many times the internal reports, the other things which otherwise would not have ever seen the light of day, you all brought it out because the whistleblowers put it out.
That's right. And when I was working in the print media some years ago, and when there was all that business about the hedging going on.
Oh, yes.
If you remember, I think I've shared this information with you, that we were getting all sorts of things into our mailbox at the newspaper.
Yes.
And one was, to my astonishment, was that in spite of the fact that claims that this trio of people, one was a government official and two were general managers or heads of two foreign banks, and in spite of their denials, lo and behold, somebody sent us what was purportedly a detailed copy of all 3 people's telephone bills. And there it was for the world to see that these people had been in regular touch during a specific time period as well. And there was a pattern of the telephone calls. You know, the government official, the secretary was calling somebody or being called, and then these two would talk to each other and so on. But that was the level to which whistleblowers did.
I think that brings my mind back to the same, story. I think you went beyond that. There was a time when it was reported how two officials in a state bank were treated were given foreign tour overseas.
That's right.
And how their bills overseas, hotels bills were paid by a private bank.
Correct.
Which sponsored the hedging movement.
Correct. They sponsored the hedging movement.
And that was admitted by them.
That's right. And yes,
in their
voluminous affidavits.
Yeah, in their affidavits.
Yes. And I remember there at one point a memo written, again all leaked by these whistleblowers.
Yes.
A memo written to the head of, I think it was the Standard Chartered Bank.
Yes.
In which the memo says that the chairman of the CPC had no appetite for losses.
Yes.
And so a team was deployed to ensure that the chairman of the CPC either developed an appetite or other's, or to address his concerns anyway.
And finally he had an induced appetite.
Indeed, yes. And so these are the things that whistleblowers can do and did do.
Yes.
And our colleague, the late Lasantha Wickramatunge, had a huge network of whistleblowers to share with him key information that led to a whole spate of stories. But now then, we've digressed so much. But this article, in which a whistleblower has leaked a page, it's called a page from the charges account, salaries of contract employees. It refers to the salaries of contracted employees, obviously not of a private bank, because otherwise we wouldn't be talking about that, because we are not the shareholders of that bank, but of a state bank. And you, me, Mr. Rusiripala, all stakeholders in that.
Yeah.
And therefore, we are bringing this up. It's a leaked paper, a page from the charges account, titled Salaries of Contract Employees.
Yeah.
Now then, Mr. Rusiripala, I'll let you tell me what is the effect of this. What is the story? Let's take the public through it.
Yes. I think in the first instance, I must explain what this charges account is. You know, banks do maintain accounts in their books of accounts, in the general ledgers and so on. There are all the payments, when categorized to different sectors, they run a separate page and a separate account. Now this obviously refers to the account that deals with the payments to the contracted employees of that bank. So, according to the page, according to may I take this?
Yes.
According to what is leaked by this whistleblower, it refers to only a one period, starting from 24th January 2017 up to 2018 April. You can see very current.
Yeah, it's rather current.
Yeah, I mean, these are not old affairs.
Yeah.
This is what is ongoing in the country.
Right.
That is the importance of dealing with matters like this, because we are going through a Yahapalana government, good governance period. And we must know what exactly is, particularly in the state sector.
Indeed.
Particularly in the state sector.
And we must really say that it is our right to know what goes on with our money.
Absolutely. Beyond that, for us, you know, the concern today in this country is with this economy in disarray and mismanagement.
Yeah.
You know, there is a huge interference and a focus on the affairs of the state-owned enterprises. And then they want waste stopped, they want proper management instituted, they want proper accounting and other procedures followed by the state-owned institutions. So at a time it is highly relevant for the media, for whistleblowers, for everybody concerned with these matters to focus attention on these things. And here is a situation where the importance of this, the bit of leaked information is this, that it refers to huge amounts of monies paid as salaries to contract employees. Comparatively, they appear to be beyond any imagination. They are not in keeping with the normal payment patterns in this country, particularly in the state sector.
So by outsourcing the certain key staff roles, so outsourcing, so instead of promoting somebody from within the bank's cadre, what they've done is they've contracted a company to supply them with certain workers, with certain workers,
expertise,
who hopefully have a certain expertise. Which obviously the bank will say, well, we didn't have that within our cadre. And what you're saying is that these payments refer to that contract outsourced part of the bank's workforce.
I mean, after we got this information, we did our own examinations as to investigations as to what really has happened. Following the debacle that the state sector banks faced, which was revealed by an international audit in the early 90s, in the late 90s, the banks did not confirm or fall in line with the required standards that were stipulated as corrective measures. So what happened was the people in power at that time, the finance ministry, authorities, everybody, they wanted shortcuts to see how they can achieve the performance standards that were expected by the international bodies, as against the shortcomings that were pointed out in the audit reports. So what they did was they authorized the banks to recruit people for a short time as contractors in addition to supplement the workforce. They supplement the regular workforce within a short time to give them the fresh blood that was required in the new area.
In which year was this?
I mean, this was in 95.
Right, so it's a long time ago.
Long time ago.
But it was only supposed to be a shot in the arm.
Exactly, that is how it was intended.
It wasn't meant to be some permanent drip feed.
No. What was really intended was, while the succession plans of the banks for the cadres, permanent cadres to be enhanced or upgraded, I mean, till then, they wanted some infusion of new blood into this. So with that idea, they brought in these people, of course, with a little, when you take a person on hire on contract, they are short-term contracts, so they are obviously paid a little more or some attractive salary. But then, these contractors apparently have continued for more than 15 years. Some are still continuing. And the entire succession planning procedures of the banks have gone haywire.
Rather like the succession at the United National Party.
I think you quoted the most current and relevant example that ever could be quoted in this country.
Well, you see, but that's the whole point. When people learn from example. So when the leadership of one of the biggest political parties in this country that plays supposedly playing a dynamic role, when we have a succession problem there, then that is the example that filters downwards. And here you go, you're telling me that at this state bank there's a succession problem.
And these people have been continuing in this executive status virtually on a permanent basis displacing the permanent cadres.
And therefore frustrating the aspirations of the permanent cadre.
On the one hand,
Yeah.
on the other hand, they were creating a very bad precedence and practice,
Yeah.
because, you know, they, after all, they were contractors.
They have no particular loyalty.
How can they take important decisions or be parties to decisions involving hundreds of millions of lending activities and policy decisions involving, you know, huge investments to the banks in the digital field, in other fields, in computerizations, in all these things, faceliftings? They were the decision makers. The ongoing permanent employees who were there, who had a loyalty, who had been taken into those cadres with permanent letters of appointments, expecting certain performance standards from them, they were overlooked. And these people have replaced them completely. So there are so many dangers. Besides the succession plan, they have been entrusted with very important decisions which are rather risky, particularly in the banking industry, in the financial industry, which should not have been entrusted to people of a contract nature.
And on that note, we'll take a short break, but don't go away. After all, this is Newsline, and we've got plenty more of that information where it came from. And welcome back to Newsline, where we are today, this morning, sharing with you some information about the goings-on at a state bank where there is claim that the funds of the bank are being mismanaged in a particular way. Now then, Mr. Rusiripala, so this whistleblower highlighting these payments on the charges account in respect to the salaries of contracted workers,
Yes.
To the bank. This is where they bring in so-called expertise, supposedly having brought them in temporarily. We find that 15 years later, in some cases, they're still there. Now then, what is the effect? Let's say that you are a part of the state bank's cadre.
Yeah.
Then, for example, you've reached the position of, let's say, CEO, as an example. So if you're the CEO and you come through that cadre, what kind of money would the bank expect to pay you?
You know, banks, they have a very regular payment structure, in
Right.
the sense, you know, it is one sector where the payment, the salaries of the cadre, the terms and conditions of employment are determined by collective agreement.
Collective agreement, that's what I was looking for.
Periodically, once in 3 years or so,
Yeah.
it has become a practice to review their salaries and terms and conditions.
Perhaps to take into account of inflation and
Inflation and all that, you know,
Yeah.
and the trends, markets, everything.
Yeah.
There are increased responsibilities, the risk factors,
right.
all those things. And then they are fixed the salary. The highest paid CEO,
Yeah.
according to those terms of terms
collective
and conditions,
agreement.
collective agreements, I think are entitled to a starting salary of about 300,000 rupees.
Right.
I mean, in addition to the other perks.
Right.
But here,
So that's if you came through the cadre.
cadre.
Now, when you bring in expertise
Yes.
from outside,
Yes.
usually it's for a contracted period. It may be for a month, 6 months, a year, but it's always a fixed term.
Yes.
You would expect to pay a little bit more, wouldn't you?
Exactly, definitely.
Right. Then
It's a normal thing.
why are we getting excited with this whistleblower's information?
Now, this is an extraordinarily high payment
Yeah.
structure from any standards in this country,
Yeah.
or even comparatively with other countries even.
Yes.
You know, that is why the concern is.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, you referred to a very significant relevant factor, that is, people who rise up.
Yeah.
Now, some of these executives who are today in receipt of a monthly salary of more than 2 million,
Right.
in addition to several other perks,
Yeah.
amounting to further millions.
Yeah.
You know, they also have risen up in the same institution during the last 15, 20 years.
I see. So they've sort of jumped off off the train, got onto the outsourcing train, and
Yes.
then come back to the same place
They have overtaken the others
and overtaken everybody
and displaced.
and displaced them.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what happens to
Yeah.
what does that do to the confidence level of the people who are remaining there?
Definitely, it is definitely a negative motivating factor, and definitely it defeats the motivation of the employees.
So, Mr. Rusiripala, does this agreement between the state bank and the contractor, the
Yeah.
management supply company, if you like,
Yeah.
right? Do we know what the contents of that agreement is?
I think, Mr. Faraz, I think this is a job for people like you. Write to the RTI, please.
Yes.
In public interest, in the interest of the institutions, in the interest of the public declared policy,
Yeah.
please write to the RTI
Yes.
and ask
under the RTI.
under the RTI,
Yes.
ask what these contracts are.
Right.
There is an obligation by a state institution to let the public know, because it is public money, because it is the state that is financing these payments. You have a right to ask.
Yes.
Here some of these items.
Yes. Now, can we just go through some of these items?
Yes,
Okay?
please. Yes.
Now it says here, January 2017, executive salary 4.5 million. February 17, executive salary 4.4 million.
Yeah.
March 17, executive salary 4.3 million. Then it has something called increment arrears, 37,502,500. 37.5 million in something called incremental arrears. Sorry, I'm not with this. If you are a contract employee,
Yeah.
if you've got a contract,
Yeah.
you don't get increments. You get a fixed amount
Yeah.
for that fixed period.
Yes.
That's the usual form. Anything else, you should be taken away because it's not contracted. You may be, in fact, you may be in breach of the labor regulations.
You see, now you are right on the point, because no one knows what these contracts are in the first place.
Yeah.
What is the structure that is offered to them?
Yeah.
But then it is an alarmingly high figure for us for an incremental arrears payment of 37 million. You may wonder, I was for a moment thinking, when this whistleblowers information reached us, we thought, for how many people is this?
Yeah.
That is the most significant thing.
Yeah.
We thought maybe 10 or 15 or 20 people.
And how much is this?
And what period?
Yeah.
But then to see, now we have found out
more whistleblowing.
it is only for 4 people.
So this 37,500,000
Yes.
was for 4 people.
Right.
For what period of time?
According to this, you know, there is a repeated same amount just
After that.
just after 1 year.
Yes.
Again the same amount.
So that's obviously being paid annually.
Exactly.
Well, or so it appears.
37.5 million paid twice during
Yes.
this period.
It was in October. The period is from January 17 to April 18.
Exactly.
And there's another payment, a mirror payment on the 2nd of October for 37.5 million.
Intriguing.
Now, Mr. Rusiripala, do we know how much is the money that the company that supplies these people, do we know what the margin is between what they pay and what the bank pays them? Do we know that? Does it concern us?
No, that it's a very important issue.
Yeah.
You know, this is a matter that unless otherwise the information is provided properly, correctly, openly, transparently, no one will know where this money goes. It is supposed to be going to a private company which has supplied the services of these contractors, and which is the one that is paying the contractors.
But I'm sorry, but another aspect of all this, in my mind,
Yes.
is that if this has been going on for so long,
Yeah.
not just for a period of 3 months or 6 months, But if this is going on for so long, then it appears to me, and we might have to ask one of our panelist lawyers the answer to this.
Yeah.
It appears to me, Mr. Rusiripala, that if you turn up to work every day,
Yes.
From 8 to 5 at preset times and so on,
Yes.
you actually become an employee.
Yes.
You can't be a contracted something or other.
Yeah.
And therefore the company is not paying it the EPF, ETF things.
Exactly.
And not deducting, and so there appears to be being the operative word here, a departure from process again. And here we go again, it's a departure process. Why do you think, for example, there's another one. It says here, Sabri gratuity. I mean, it's 8.4 million.
Yeah.
First of all, when it says Sabri gratuity, I presume that that's a name of somebody.
It's a name of the person to whom a gratuity has been
Been paid.
paid. For a gratuity to be paid, he must depart, no? He must resign, go.
Now the thing is, Mr. Rusiripala, why should a contracted person get paid a gratuity? Contracted persons don't get gratuity. Gratuity is paid to an employee.
Yes.
As far as I know, I stand to be corrected, but you know, in general terms, the perception of a gratuity payment is you leave, at the time you leave, you get paid this thing.
Exactly.
So it's an astonishing amount of money. 4, 8, 12, 49, 57, 67, 71, 79.
194 million.
194 million inside this period.
Yes.
It's a crying shame.
And you have seen, if you see carefully according to this list,
Yeah.
you will see two sums that have been paid as performance bonuses.
Yes, now
8 million.
that's a funny thing here.
Yeah.
One says March 18, which
Yes.
is very recent.
Yes,
Performance bonus,
yes. 8 million
8.8 million
among 4 people.
amongst 4 people.
Yes,
Then there's something called, about a week later,
yes.
advance payment bonus,
Yes.
2.3 million.
Somebody must have been having a little financial difficulty with all this payment,
Yes.
and has resorted to obtain an advance against his bonus.
But all this
Yeah.
is another way of hiding transparency fully, because instead of it being able to be revealed in the accounts, this will obviously only be revealed in just one line.
Of course.
You know, they'll be lumped together,
Yes,
so nobody will know any different.
I don't know whether it has been reported as to how these amounts are applicable to each and every individual concerned.
Yeah.
But what has happened according to this accounting reported system,
Yeah.
that has been reported by this whistleblower is
Yeah.
that this full sum has gone to a company, calling it arrears of payment 37 million,
Yeah.
salaries for 5 million, then performance bonuses 8 million.
You see, the other thing is,
yes.
now the other thing is,
Yes.
now they're not part of the cadre, so they're from another company.
Yeah.
But what happens when are they considered state employees? I'm talking about Section 70 of the Bribery Act, for example.
Yeah.
Can these contracted people be charged for causing a loss to state funds? That's another legal point that arises.
Because their contracts are different, and their responsibility and loyalty is to somebody who has
To a private company.
engaged their services.
Exactly.
And if at all, it is the company that should be held responsible who has provided these services for anything misappropriations.
This is all a big story that needs to be further looked into.
Definitely.
And if the whistleblower and others who work at this particular state bank are listening, please get in touch with us. You can SMS us on 0772 300 305. And obviously all calls in confidence, all information received in confidence. But we must tell you that we do check for the authenticity and veracity of the information that you so provide. But we will protect your identity, as we always do as a responsible media organization. Don't forget, this story is still in its infancy. We need more information. please get in touch with us. It's very important. It's important because it's your money. It's the national interest. Rusiripala Tennakoon, thank you very much. We look forward. I hope your mailbox at home is big enough, because I'm sure you're going to get even more documentation.
I'm continuing to get a series of information, Faraz. Very interesting. In fact, I'm working back on the figures statistically to show what an alarming situation we are faced with.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, and that's the way it was from Newsline. Take care. God bless.
Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shauketaly.